Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Black Knitter. I'm Liz, I'm the Black Knitter, and in this podcast we talk about things that I'm doing as a knitter. That's my primary craft. I sew a little bit too. Um, but this podcast I like to focus on black and brown makers um, because it's hard to find. It can be challenging to find um, black and brown makers to support. Um, and that was really my motivation for starting this podcast. So let's jump right in. It's been a little bit since I made a video. I've made a lot. I got some things finished and off the needles and started a couple of new projects. So what I want to do is I'll share with you some finished objects or FOs and some WIPs, some works in progress that I have. And then I want to share with you some recent purchases that I've made from a couple of black independent dyers or indie dyers. So that's what we're going to do. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm not going to keep this on, but this is a shawl I made quite some time ago. Yolanda at Happy Knits had a shawl make-along about a year ago. And I hadn't made a shawl before, even though I love to wear them. I never made one. So I decided to jump in on that. So this is a shawl that I made. But I put it on to show you that thanks to Carol at Chicken Coop Dyeworks, she messaged me because she saw my episodes about the Kwanzaa yarn boxes. And remember, I didn't know what this was. I wasn't quite sure. It's a shawl cuff. See? So thank you, Carol, for giving me some education. That is great. And so that's how you use this. And this is great. So I'll be using this a lot because I wear shawls a lot, especially in the winter. I'm in Ohio and it's very cold here right now. So that is what that is for. This shawl pattern, again, was one that Yolanda at Happy Knits picked out. It's a free pattern. I think it's called Magic Spring or something like that. I'll link it below. But I just used some yarn that I had. It's really long, but a cool pattern. So that's that. But that's not a recent finished object. I finished a number of things. I used my winter break. I work at a university to get some things off the needle. So I finished, I showed this in my last episode. I'll put a picture of the finished object here because it's upstairs and I don't want to go get it. I finished my summer sorrel sweater by Woolen Pine. I faded it, came out pretty cool. I wore it to work this week. And the only modification, and you'll see that in the photo, is I added a little bit to the neckline because when I put it on, the neckline was really too much exposure up here. And so I wanted a little more, so I added a little bit to the neckline, but that's the only modification I made to that. Another finished object that I have, and again, I'll put a picture here, is I finished my Shawlography project finally. And I don't have that here because I ended up gifting it to one of the young people that works for me. And I'll put a couple of pictures up here. One of the shawl just spread out, and then a picture of the young person wearing it, who was very grateful to receive it. I'm a process knitter for the most part, and I like to sometimes I'll start a project and, it's not really for me. I just see a pattern that I really like or want to do an experience. So I participate in a knit along or whatever, or make along, and pray about who needs to receive the the thing that I'm making. And as I prayed about that, this young person was the answer that I received to that prayer, and they are very grateful for that. So that was good. Got that done. And the other thing I finished was another shawl project. Again, I'll put a picture up here because that is also upstairs, and I'm just too lazy to go and get it. And that project was the Ad Hoc Shawl by Josh Ryks. And again, all of this will be linked below. That shawl I actually did, it was a class that I took at my local yarn shop, Harps and Thistles, shout out, taught by Judy Hershey, who is a really good teacher. And the group of women that I've got to know there are really progressive, and just a really kind of great group of women to hang out with. So I enjoy classes there. It's not easy for a person of color to go into a yarn shop and participate in a class. The first class that I took with Judy, I told her, I had been knitting for over 30 years and never done a class because I never felt comfortable. Whenever I've done yarn community stuff, I was the only Black person in the room, or in the space. And that's not a comfortable place to be, especially when people interact with you in a way that really affirms that you don't belong there, right? And if you talk to Black and brown makers, they can all share stories with you about experiences like that in the making community. So, if you are a person who owns a yarn shop or, organizes knitting retreats, knitting classes, whatever it is, think about that. How is it that you can create a space that is not only welcoming to people who don't look like you, but really affirms for people that they belong there. So that's what I'll say about that for now. So those are the things that I have finished. I'm working on a couple of things now. One is the Birthright Shawl. It's a pattern by Dr. Charlie, who is also a PhD holder, I think in chemistry maybe. I'll have to look that up, but I will link that below. The Birthright Shawl pattern was actually a part of the Juneteenth collection that Lady Dye Yarns curated last year. And I, of course, purchased that. And it came with some yarn and the pattern, some stitch markers, a project bag that says Juneteenth on it. Really great stuff. Love it. And I've just never gotten around to knitting the pattern. But like I said, I love shawls. Decided after participating in Happy Knits shawl make along that I really enjoy knitting shawls. So I'm making it. And so this is where I am so far. I have one of my progress keepers from my Kwanzaa box from Passion Knits Yarns. So that's a Whitney Marie Anderson progress keeper. This yarn is actually Passion Knits yarn. It was one of the skeins that was in that Kwanzaa box. And I mentioned that that Kwanzaa box also had a shawl pattern in it called Kumba, which is creativity. And that's what I like to call this segment of my podcast when I'm talking about finished objects and whips. Kumba, creativity. So I've got a long ways to go. I've already made mistakes, but I am a person who embraces mistakes. When I gift knits to people, I like to talk to them about the fact that their knit probably includes mistakes, and that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to own mistakes, because we learn from them. Amen. So that is one of my works in progress. The other thing that I have started is a project that I've had the yarn and pattern for quite some time, but I was working on getting those other things off the needles first. I don't really like to have too many things on the needles at one time. My max is like 4 projects. Because I like to make substantive progress on things. So, I've made a hoodie for my husband in the past. I made him I finished in the fall a hoodie for him. It's the Montrealer, designed by Delz. And I'll put a picture of that here. But he wanted another sweater, and I was like, well, I'll just see what I can find. And Maxim came out with a pattern called Single Malt. It's a really cool looking sweater. And my husband and I enjoy trying different bourbons together, and whiskey. And so I love the name of it, kind of the concept. It's really reflective of something that we share together. So I thought I would make it for him. So he picked out some yarn that he likes. I am using City Tweed from Knit Picks. Let me open up my project bag. I got this really cool project bag from a young person that works for me, which is really cool. But the City Tweed, I got the Aran weight because that's what the pattern calls for. This City Tweed is 55% merino, 25% superfine alpaca, and 20% Donegal tweed. And this color is cobalt. So it's showing up really purple. Let me try turning on the light here to see if that does any better. That's a little better. So it's called cobalt. It's kind of like this really royal blue, almost purple. It's knitting up very nicely. So I have it on the needles right now, so it's really hard to see, but I am still working. I haven't split for the sleeves yet. I changed the neckline just a little bit because I wanted it to look more finished, so I did a tubular cast on, which looks really nice. And I did a 1x1 rib instead of what's called for in the pattern. But this looks awesome. I might have to make one of these for myself, to be honest, because I just love the way it looks. And this City Tweed feels really nice. So that is one of my whips. And then I am anxiously awaiting. I'm trying not to cast on anything else, because on January 31st, Disturbing the Fleece, Fatima, is going to be releasing a cardigan pattern called Walfla. Um, I actually found the pattern on Ravelry. um, and it said it wasn't available, so I messaged her on Instagram, and I was like, "Can you tell me how I can get a hold of this pattern?" And then lo and behold, I was going through my Instagram feed, and she posted that it was going to be released on the 31st. So I am excited for that to come out, and that's going to be the next sweater pattern for myself that I cast on. It just looks like it has a really cool construction and texture. So I'm really looking forward to casting that on. So I just got to get through another week and then it'll be available. Okay, so those are the FOs and whips for now. The other part of this podcast that I want to do is sharing with you purchases that I've made from Black and Brown makers, cooperative economics, so supporting Black and Brown businesses. I want to talk about two dyers. One many of you are familiar with because she is like the GOAT when it comes to dyeing yarn. That is Adela at Lola Bean Yarn Co. And I know it can be difficult to get stuff on her shop because it sells out so fast. The first purchase I actually made from Lola Bean Yarn Co. was for a t-shirt. I love the t-shirts because the t-shirts are reflective of my experience as a Black woman. And my experience as a Black woman who is a knitter. So I have now I have two t-shirts from Lola Bean Yarn Co. And I love to wear them when I preach because they just give me energy, send me life. But if I remember, I'll put a picture of me wearing one of those t-shirts. But in my last purchase, I actually got some yarn. I was really excited about that. So it's already caked up because I got to figure out what I'm going to make from it. I want it to be ready when I figure out what I'm going to make with it. This is called Galaxy. It is beautiful. Look at that. It's really getting kind of blown out by the lights. But it is purple and blue and pink and white. And really dark, almost black. It really does look like the Galaxy. And this is, I believe it's a sport weight. It's Sport Bean is the name of her base. Yes. And what I got was 100% superwash merino. But yeah, sport weight, 328 yards and 100 grams. So I'm just looking for the right pattern to use for that. But when it came in, I caked it up because I want to be ready to whip something up with that. And I'm thinking about Disturbing the Fleece. Fatima also has a pattern that I bought a couple of months ago. I just haven't cast it on yet because I want to find the right yarn, and I want it to be yarn from another Black or Brown indie dyer. But so I was thinking about that pattern for this yarn, but I'm not sure yet. But that pattern is called Weak Moral Fiber. Love that name. And when it was on, when I purchased it, she was doing a partnership with a dyer, and they were raising money to support abortion rights in Texas, which I thought was great. So that's another thing, craftivism is a real thing. So we can talk with our dollars, right? All right, so that was one purchase. Another purchase that I made was from a dyer that I have followed for a while, and I've been purchasing yarn from this young man since he started making it available. My goal is to get something in every colorway that he offers. But this is his latest colorway. This is Willy Nilly Knits. He's known as the We Out Here guy. He does teaching in addition to dyeing yarn, and also he sells items that he knits. So check him out. I will have his Instagram linked below. This is the colorway Glacier. The base is 100% superwash merino in worsted weight, so it's 218 yards for 100 grams. This is a great color. And I want to show you some other colors that I've gotten from him. So this one is Glow. This is another worsted weight that's 100% superwash merino. And those colors are just phenomenal. And he doesn't dye a lot. So when he posts on Instagram that he has some available, you gotta message him right away. So that's one. And then, representation matters. That's one of the reasons why I'm so committed to supporting Black and brown makers, because they make things that are reflective of my culture. And I love that. That's why I was so excited about Chicken Coop Dyeworks and Passionate Yarns doing those Kwanzaa boxes, and why I will always support them. Why I was so excited to find, for instance, Yarn and Whiskey, who makes project bags with African fabrics. Representation really does matter, right? Another example is Michael Green, who is a pattern designer. I did a test knit for him of his Knowledge Shawl, which is all about African wisdom and knowledge. It's just the pattern has Adinkra symbols in it, reflective of the word for knowledge or wisdom. So representation matters. And these two colorways are an example of that. And again, they're Willy Nilly Knits. This one is really, really beautiful. It's called Riddim, Riddim. Again, 100% superwash merino. It's worsted weight. And if you don't know, these are the colors of the Jamaican flag. This is fabulous. And I have a friend who is Jamaican, who I'm going to turn this into a hat for, because he hates the cold, even though he's lived in the U.S. most of his life. And then this one has those Kwanzaa colors, those Pan-African colors, red, black, green, and yellow. This one is called Origins. Love it. And Origins because it's reflective of that Pan-African flag, a symbol of African unity. Beautiful, beautiful color. And I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yet. So that's not all of the willy-nilly knit yarn I have. I have some other ones too. Maybe I'll show those on another episode. But love his yarns. Love Lola Bean. I also love that Adela at Lola Bean Yarn Co. Really embodies the principles of the Nguza Saba. She is really supportive of other black and brown people in the making community. So I love her for that. So that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed your time with me, and I hope you will come back again. And follow me on Instagram. I love to see what people are making. If you know of black and brown makers, if you're a black and brown maker, make sure you reach out on Instagram so I can follow you and show what you're doing here on my podcast, because I'm all about supporting you. And I'm going to say this. The things I show, I have purchased. I don't expect anything free from anybody. I got plenty of money, and this is about supporting black and brown businesses. I'm not a business. I just want to bring awareness to these beautiful makers who don't get enough attention. One of my frustrations as a black person is that, finding those folks can be difficult because the market is so crowded with, white makers. It's a really white space. So yeah, that's why I'm doing this. I want to share what I've learned through my own search for those businesses. So we'll see you next time on The Black Knitter. Asante Sana.